Welcome to my Kickstarter. This will necessarily be in several segments due to, though I am the most organised person in the world, I don't have facilities. Facilities is a big word for time, time with a plug. I never smoke inside or in a vehicle. Time with a plug. And I, at the moment, I actually want to be doing more important things, which is walking up that hill, which is part of this. Right, I'm Simon, but you can literally call me anything. In fact, I'd rather people, if they were working with me on my team, have extremely unpleasant nicknames. To my face, I don't care. It's dawn. The sun's just rising. I am in West Herefordshire, although my film material's got nothing to do with West Herefordshire. That's quite important because, going back to the opening statement here, words. I think that I'm probably, over the last 15, 16 years, Britain's number one philosopher of freedom of speech, but I've put that into practice in actual primary UK legislation change. Now, let's just stick with the Kickstarter intro. You want to know three things. By the way, this Kickstarter is about you. I want to find some of you who'll be in the team. Oh, look, the sun's just coming up. Vehicle. 5 vehicles a day come along here, and one's coming along. Right. So, you want to know three things. If I'm the key person in an operation which you're going to put money into, you want to know, well, actually, you want to know, is my health all right? You want to know, is my sanity all right? And then you want to know, are the projects goers? Right. You also want to know, can you trust me? So let's deal with those personal things first. Okay. Well, the projects, there are several projects, but they're all connected and will all be done under one umbrella. It's freezing, by the way. There is frost. My water's just boiling, and those two canisters there are important. Right. Okay. I shouldn't do this. I should prioritize the environment and have that water now. Okay, so first of all, my health. I had a virus, my health and well-being, physicality. I had a random 2 or 3 years, let's just call it for the sake of brevity, meningitis kind of virus over a couple of years. 2014, 15, 16, 16, 17, 18 really. And during that period, I had to go back and forth to the hospital for tests. And my lungs were checked out and I was told were huge and in superb nick. Apart from that, query, I walk up that hill. In the last 9 years, I've walked up that hill from starting 3 miles the other side 3 times a week. I say to myself, if I can do the hill 3 times a week, all is well. Physical health, absolutely brilliant, although I could drop dead at any second. Okay, so that can kind of segue into sanity, but sanity and trust. I'm the most organised person in the world. I literally am. This is my office and has been for 4 months. I could tell somebody where every single item resides in there. And I'm a machine of operating on the job. But I do believe in work-life balance. Nobody should work more than 30 hours a week, and they should have lots of time up and down that hill. Now, it's getting a bit cold on my fingers, so I'm going to have to put my hand in my pocket, or even down there. Right, or do part 2 in a moment. Okay, trust and sanity, let's do them together. Now, why did I talk about organisation? Because, well, I've done a load of film over the last week, and I'm afraid to say there's quite a lot of it, but you will see in there, everything is always treble backed up. I operate in such a way. I was a professional pilot for 18 years, from the age of 18, doing some of the hardest piloting work in the world, including emergency heart transplant, flying them around, call in the middle of the night, get to the airport, and we've got a heart that needs to go the other side of the country. When you brought yourself up doing that, there's no training for that. You have to learn on the job. You're always thinking ahead, always. I've been essentially a single parent for, I say to people, 13 years. It's actually about 15 years. I've been a parent of young children, and you also have to be rather organised doing that. But I also operate in a pure collective way. So anything I do is always done on computer operating systems that other people can easily use. For example, I don't use obscure computer operating systems for that reason. In other words, Windows. We have to use Windows so people will easily be able to come in and do my work if I'm for some reason indisposed or have my heart attack, which I hope I won't have, and end in the hospital for well, there we go. So yeah, I operate in such a way that anybody can pick up what I'm about. I mean, I even arrange my passwords such that there is a core root password for external hard drives, which all materials never saved, either in the cloud. You can't trust the cloud entirely, as they find in Ukraine when things go tits up there, or Russia, or wherever, or who knows what next. Seems on the news this morning that Telegram was potentially under threat in Brazil. Anyway, to the point. Yeah, you always think of redundancy. If I end up in a mess, not a mental mess, I'll never be in a mental mess. Can other people take over easily, efficiently projects? And I operate entirely, perfectly to that ethos. Trust. Now, just incidental, and this is not part of my work actually, although it's part of my very private work that I enjoy doing. All the rest, oh, there's the sun now. All the rest of my projects can be shared and are fairly self-evident. I've got 4 projects, but there's one fundamental key project which we'll start with. I call it film number 2. I'll get to that in a moment. So my projects, yeah, can be shared, but then there's a sort of something else that I write creatively, poetically about, and philosophically about. But let's just suffice to say that 12 years ago I had a total, massive falling in the abyss grief for a few years, where there are 2 states in life only, basically: pre-loss and post-loss. And the loss, big losses, you have to process, you have to evolve through, and eventually you do learn things from. But let's not go there yet, because that's my own private domain. I like that. I share anything. But during that period, I mean, there's such periods, I never lost it, never took a pill, never took, I had about 2 drinks, 2 evenings having a couple of pints over a couple of years, and sleep after an initial few weeks of it being messed up, then returned to absolute perfection. But during that period, one friend, well, you lose your friends, of course, during such periods as well. A new friend, he gave me 3 or 4 memory sticks, be value about £25. I still owe him for those. I was staying near a camping ground, communing with nature, and I borrowed a 5-litre tin of paraffin. And then there are one or two other similar things I owe people. In other words, I have a mental list of everything over the years that I owe anybody. If I ever have the money to completely catch up back with life, I have a record of everything I owe anybody. So, anybody who wants to contribute or be in any way part of it, I automatically always keep the most accurate records imaginable, treble backed up, such that there is no conceivable argument about what anybody's dues are. And be part of that. Yeah, help me with it. You keep your records accurate, and anybody should also keep accurate records of any reasonable incidental expense. Okay? Confusion or even deliberation, discussion over money is so dull. Just wastes such a lot of time. Make it straightforward, crystal clear, keep a rolling tally. That will never bother me. Okay, sanity. Now, during the period aforementioned, it's hilarious. In fact, it needs a film on it one day. I think somebody might have to die first. Nothing to do with me. Yeah, sort of 12 years ago. Nothing to do with me at all. A chap in a very, very remote rural area. He went a bit bonkers and attacked me. And it ended up that somebody called the police. Now, it was quite obvious that I don't retaliate. In fact, I was running away from him, basically. But it was so interesting. A point was reached when I realised that he wasn't trying to attack me. He was just expressing his terrible inner angst, turmoil, pain. And I turned my back on him. He had a metal bar that he was flailing at me. Now, I chose to put a statement to the police who turned up. Somebody called them, it's irrelevant. Saying, two adults around that day, and I'm not going to say who did it. I could have got him 7 years in jail. He did connect with me. I had the wounds, but I put a statement in saying, no, I am not going to inform who did what. I understand that there was stress and angst in other people, and there was some in me regarding the no, not stress. There was total angst. No, not even angst. Oh, blah blah blah. Waffle. There was discombobulation within me due to my bereavement. Let's call it. Anyway, a few weeks later, they tried to cause me a problem and suggested that one day I'd love to publish that statement. It's beautiful. It's very well written. And it was well written. It was written in circumstances not entirely different to these. Yes, I was between houses and living off grid. Anyway, yeah, they tried to pull me in under the Mental Health Act with the words, your statement that you, well, they didn't ask for it. I just wanted to underline the thing, get rid of, it was wasting time. Your statement was, I mean, this is Britain for you. Your statement was so thorough. We think you've got a mental health problem. They actually held me under the Mental Health Act. The arrest and further investigation, detain and further invest. I don't think you're technically arrested. I don't know, but anyway, you're kept in a cell. You see, I was quite well known in the region for a good reason, and we need to get that into film number 1. Not about me. But I sat... now, when you're held in a station and a lawyer, I mean, they're all crap, these lawyers, but they say, oh, now, there's nothing we can do about this, because as long when this act or this protocol has been button pressed on it, you can't, you're not dealing with a legal process, you're on hold, detained for your own safety. I mean, they were playing games with me. I mean, this could well, probably was revenge for what I achieved. I managed to get Jack Straw in public to do a U-turn. He didn't like it. 3 months of him naming me in Parliament, late 2008. December the 18th or 16th, 2008. 3 months later, he had to do a U-turn on television. I have the record of both events. I think you don't care. I'm above caring who did what, and you actually understand in life later on that you'll never know the truth. Anyway, so this event, and the real freakiness, and this is well known. There were films on YouTube 10 or 11 years ago of precisely this: professionals, doctors, counsellors, even being held. The potential whistleblower type person. The state started to use this as a strategy 10 or 15 years ago of trying to get them sectioned. Now, the reason is because there's no appeal, or I don't think there's an appeal for 30 days at least. So if they can get you, they have to have one psychiatrist, official, qualified, full psychiatrist, and one lay mental health person or something like that in a panel committee, or fill in a form saying, yep, got a screw loose, or in such a mess might be harmful to themselves or others. And so you're told about this. Well, your solicitor or lawyer, station attendant doesn't give you the full story of how truly dodgy this is. As I say, no appeal, but this is sort of, this comes out that there's, if this goes the wrong way, there is no way we can appeal, take this to court to get you out for 30 days at least. And one assumes that you'd be in a place where it's very difficult to get legal help, etc. So, you don't sleep. You really don't. That's the worst bit. Okay, so you're there for, well, I think in that case it was 20. It was actually 22 hours. So you're there for 22 hours. You can't sleep because you're so freaked out and worried about this. It's like worse than a normal arrest. So you're going half nuts because you haven't slept. I had my little board. Oh, and they wanted to bury me. And I passed totally sane. Thank you. There was possibly a civilian in the background behind that. Don't care. Total sanity. I will also have testimonials on here from about at least half a dozen people about my performance doing self-starting social work, assisting people in a real mess in 2020. I'm afraid to say I have total sanity. Okay, trust. Well, I think that covers trust. Well, there's more. There's more on. Oh, yeah. There's a deep philosophical aspect to being able to trust me. That's in the films I was making yesterday, the day before. Now, here's the thing. Please, 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 please. I have no irritation switch. If somebody's being an energy thief and taking too much of my time, and I feel that I'm going to be wasting my time because I want to be walking up that hill, well, there comes a point, and actually, with me, it's quite late in the process where I'll just say, I'll phrase it in such a way that this is not being productive. I'm only interested in productivity and efficiency. Right. By the way, I'm 10 times more productive living like this. Bugger off if you think I look like a hobo. So, I have 3 or 4 projects. No, I don't have grandiose personality disorder, if that one's gone into DSM, whatever number we're on. No, they're long been percolating away. And the first one, the main one, well, it's actually the second one. I want people to muck in with me, help. I mean, it's all about working towards the film number 1, the big one, the Hollywood movie, or might be, it's got to be studio feature film. I want a team. I want people around me who realise, well, they can trust me. Everything will be done so transparently, it's ridiculous, and they can be part of trying to take it forward and getting a great thing made. Which, if it's great, well, there is money. I'm not stupid. I've run 2 limited companies in the past. Yeah, actually, see, the most important thing, and this is going to sound naff. So, you see, film number 1 is about, film number 2 is about trying to get film number 1 made. Film number 3 is something that's deeply, deeply, almost ongoing. Truly, who's one of the great philosophers of well, Shakespeare. There are probably Greeks ancient Greeks who captured the true, terrible decisions of life. That could be still ongoing. There's also film number 4. Now, film number 4 is not really a film, or rather it is. I've been making film material for 12 years about how one becomes so much more efficient, living so simply. Now, I'll just share one little thing. I've had, in my role as a parent, I've had a full ordinary household, actually a little bit more than normal, because if you look at the earlier films, we've always had, I literally had a zoo for my kid. At times we had 15, 20 animals. So I had all sorts of kit for animals. Due gentrification 4 months ago, I had to leave the property. I'd been there for 8.5 years, and I hadn't had the time to fully sort and take things to charity shops, etc., etc. Now, oh yeah, see, in 10 minutes, it's just going to be so lovely. I have a full household in 3 different storage locations, and 2 of those are under threat now, just because so many people have gone really weird the last year. I should be worrying about 2 of them. They're at threat of being burnt in a few days. It's so wonderful not to care anymore. And if you can reach that point of, oh well, oh, I've sorted them such that the really important stuff is out in one safe place. But yeah, sentimental things, actually. There is one place where low value sentimental things, or second rate sentimental things, are that could be burned in a few days. Reaching the point in life where you realise your purpose, this is more important, will keep you going, and none of that matters, because what matters is you do have the time free to wander the hills and keep over 50. There's only one thing that matters, or especially over 55, is you keep as fit and healthy as possible. In late 2020, I was fitter and healthier than I've ever been in life. Right to the point. The projects. So yeah, this is about film number 2. Now I'll do a little bit of a write-up on it. Yeah, film number 4 is something I've been doing for a long time, capturing bits of film about letting go of the bourgeois necessities, such. And I've lived in the cart and then can. I gradually disbursed all unnecessary frippery from my existence over the last 20 years and live so simply, it's ridiculous. 1 bar of simple soap, I tell people. That's true. I exist on 1 bar of simple soap. Because I want to get out good material. Wasting time buying products. And right, we'll just go back to, I opened up about the canisters. Right, anybody around me, without it being stressful, it has to be done economically. Now, you see, I've been a naughty boy. I've wasted CO2. So I had my water boiling for coffee. And the plan was, see, there you go. Being self-reverential, messianic, which I'm not, narcissistic personality disorder, which I don't have, grandiose thoughts, which I don't have, destroys the environment. I should have had that water when it was boiling. But I've used a full can. They're now $5.99 for 4 of them. They've gone up 50% in the last year. Right, so I used a full can because that gives best initial spurt. But there are 2 cans there which have got a little bit left in them. So what I'm going to do is use the full can to get my first cup of boiling water. And then while the pan bottom is still hot and I'm drinking my coffee, I'm going to put a bit more water in it and then use up the last remaining bit of gas in the other cans. Now the point being, now apart from every, and this is how I've lived for many years, and it is not an aggression, a microaggression, a passive aggression, a fucking any kind of fucking judgment on anybody. That's how we all have to live. I gave up flying professional aeroplanes. I had the best job in the world. I'd be flying places like this, a couple of thousand feet, sometimes doing aerial photography in twin-engined 10-seater planes. Professionally, all professionally, commercial pilot's license, one of the youngest in Britain ever. I'm not Superman. In fact, the honest truth is, I wasn't a very good pilot. I wasn't, my head wasn't in it. My head was in the hills. I did love it because of that. But I gave it up when my kid was born. Now, nobody, and this is not a joke, this is not an exaggeration, I don't think anybody in the world has ever given up a British professional commercial pilot's license combined with an American ATP license, air transport pilot, which is the real top of the tree. You can use them anywhere in the world. A professional type rating examiner from the age of 23, blah, blah, blah. I gave them back, figuratively, but I don't think anybody's done that. That's how committed. I gave them back for one reason only. To be with my child, they need you around a lot, most of the time. When my child was a Polish English, mix in her mother's tummy. And also, it's certainly that kind of aviation where you have 10, 15, I was an Iron Maiden's pilot one summer, it was about 25 years ago, we went on a tour, little tour of Europe. Okay, even that, you had perhaps 4, 5 who were with us, 5 people in a 15-seater turboprop King Air 200. It's not compatible with my daughter's future. It's the most glamorous, sexy, I mean, look at the end of the Whitney Houston film. Is it The Bodyguard? Yeah, that's a King Air 300, I believe. Yeah, doing that, I did that for a living. I preferred to do medical emergency and bush piloting, and I did humanitarian work as well. Doing that for a living is the sexiest, coolest, doesn't make you feel good, by the way, thing on the planet you can do for a living. I think, there are probably only 2 or 3 other existences that it ranks with. I gave that up when I never flew again, after my daughter was on the cards, created. That's how committed I am to kids, totally. It was only because of my daughter. So, film number one, it's got to be the ultimate film about any parent doing what they need to do for a kid. And I go all the way. Yeah, so film number 4, I've been making bits of film for 12 years about letting go living as simply as possible, no hang-ups, no barriers. And my, it's good for fancy pantsies speak in terms of it being good for the spirit. No, it's actually good for efficiency. Once you get all your little foibles and hang-ups gradually out of you, God, you end up so much more efficient and centered and at peace. Right, there we go. But please, one thing. I'm a bit of a technical expert, actually, although I sidestepped from it about 7 or 8 years ago, because if you really let it suck you in, it takes away all your creativity, and it does. I realised this 20 years ago. One thing, right, I believe, right, I put a load of film into a mega.nz folders. I pay for that. Okay, I got a premium account. But they're great, £5 a month, I think it is. Right. The one person I care about seeing them, who I'd love on my team, if I can afford, and she's a public person. She lives in Belgium. Now, she's not communicated to me very well, and I'll be sharing this with her, that she can't see a mega.nz. I believe anybody can click on it and download them, and you're welcome to the lot of it. And there's tons of stuff that makes me look like a rambling dervish. Basically, fuck off. Context is all that matters, and I have the law in that, basically. Okay. And the other reason this film needs to be made, my God, you've got a decade of problems ahead of you with this online harms bill. Let's not call it that. Trying to decide what's right to be said and not. And I'm the British expert in that. This whole century. So that's why you get behind film number one, although film number one is a bit more, it looks different and boring, and it has to be put in a different way. But believe me, I'm the British expert, and I've been studying it. I've been monitoring anybody in the public discourse. Have they got anything interesting to say about it? Do they understand it? Do they understand the true Voltairean principles, etc., etc., etc.? Well, ask someone in Myanmar about censorship and what you can and can't say. Yeah. Yeah. The thing, my heart is that number 4, so to speak. So I want somebody else. I want 2 or 3 people to have their heart in project number 2 and project number 1.